Welcome back to M Hood Discovered. I'm out here in the countryside here in Wood County, cruising around. I'm headed to a historical spot, and I saw this from the road back here, and I thought, let me get around, let me see if I can get over to that. Sometimes I come across these properties that seem historically significant to me. Obviously seems that way, but when you need a historical plaque or some kind of reference, you just can't find it. So the reason why I'll come over here to this is because many years ago, I don't know if it was this road, but it could have been this road, there was a road called Old Schoolhouse Road, right? And it's really significant for the next spot we're going to go to. I want to check this spot out that I'm at that you haven't even seen yet, but we're going to have to be like, we're not trespassing, we're just using your driveway to turn around, and we're going to take a quick look and pause for a sec, but not mess around. We'll come at it slow. I'm going to get over here. This building has some newer structures adjoining it, right? And it appears that it doesn't have a roof for the most part, right? So the question is this the old schoolhouse? Or, yes, I was correct in thinking that when I saw this building. You see up there, Lone Pine School. I did in fact find the old schoolhouse. What they're doing with it, I don't know. Why there's not a historical plaque here, I don't know. You find that quite frequently, places where there could be a historical plaque, but there just is not one. Wow. You can see this property sometimes has use and sometimes it's disuse. There's not much use going on today, but storage, just stuff sitting here. And all right, we're gonna, don't get mad at me, people. This is history. I'm here for history. I'm not here for your stuff sitting around. I don't want your stuff. Look at that. You can see the light coming through. Obviously they took the roof out, or it took itself out, and you can see new timbers in there. Looks like it is a restoration project of some kind. There is new framing in there. Okay, that's enough being over here without permission. Let's go. So does that mean that we are on Schoolhouse Road? A lot of these roads in this county used to have names, whereas now they have numbers. I don't know why they switched over to that system. It is really boring to me. And what even floors me more, just amazes me, is how so many people around here can keep it track in their head what number this road is and what number that is. They just rattle, you need to get this number, that number, and just rattle it off to me, and I'm just like, slow down. What's up with all the numbers? Before Mineola was the main town here, there were other settlements. Lone Pine is the name of a settlement that is no longer here. There's an area, you know, the Lone Pine area, but we don't have a settlement called that anymore. We don't have a town called that. Okay, I'm creeping up here to see, because sometimes you'll see the name and the number, but I don't see the previous name. This is 2206 that we're turning off of. I don't remember the name of the road I just turned off of that onto, but we're right here between Quick Sale Auto and a chain link fence that I have an interest in. Oh, okay. So the road I turned off onto, the road that I'm actually blocking right now, it's called Country Club Drive, right? Maybe 1700 is the block that we're on. And this road right in front of us here, that's called Green. Come on, let's get out this way. Get out her way or his way. Could be a catfish driving, I don't know. All right, keep these things in mind. Green Road is so cool that it's still called that, right? It's been called other things though. Lone Pine. And now we got this. Ford Green Cemetery is where I'm at. I'm about to read to you, but I'm not going to make you look that way because the sun is that way. This cemetery is thought to have been established in the early 1870s in what was known then as the Lone Pine community. At that particular time, in Bethel Church of Christ was, let me start over. At that particular time, the Bethel, keep Bethel, mental note, Bethel. Bethel Church of Christ was a part of the community. Okay? Lone Pine community also had a school. We were just up there. I don't know if that's the original school building, because it's definitely not as old as this cemetery, right? The last building used by the Lone Pine School is located approximately a half-mile from the cemetery. We just came from there. It didn't seem like a half-mile to me. The cemetery was known as the Green Cemetery early on, but at a time and date not known, the cemetery began to be known locally as the Ford Green Cemetery. Now, people around here in the past were also calling this, wait for it, the Green Ford Cemetery. Which do you like better? It obviously, the people that make these signs don't agree with me, so we're stuck with Ford Green. All right, where did I lost myself here. The oldest death date noted in the cemetery is 1884, but a local resident recalls being told by her mother that the first burial was a railroad worker who died in 1872. The cemetery is in two portions: a small portion enclosed by a native rock wall, the other larger portion enclosed by a chain link fence, which I'm standing at. Many of the graves are unmarked, and a number of monuments have been damaged or have been removed. Morris C. Power, a Confederate veteran from Alabama and a Wood County commissioner for one term prior to 1890, is buried here with his wife, M.A. Power. Martha. I believe that's Martha, because Martha is a woman that's buried in here that I read about when I research this. Now, when I research this cemetery, I get different info. I don't know, it depends on the day, depends on where I'm getting it. I get different info, get different dates. You can read online that Martha is the first interment, or the earliest one we know, because online it says there are 20 known graves. That don't mean there's 20 people buried in here. You gotta remember, this is well over 100 years old, about 142 or so. There's a lot of unmarked graves. They're just not marked, but we have some documented ones, and 4 of those documented 20, we don't know who's in there. We just know that someone's there. The other ones, there's info. Now, this is technically abandoned. So this started, the first interment, possibly in the 1870s, maybe 1880s. And it kept going up until like mid-century to, about like, we're talking the 20th century, just around the turn of the century, like 1920s, 1930s. That's about when the last interment was. But by the 1950s, somewhere between the early to mid 1900s, 19th century is what I mean, we get abandonment. And by 1950 something, it's officially recorded as abandoned. And that means there's just nobody left from the connected generations, you know, families and stuff, family members. There's no one left to take care of this, take care of the individual family plots. It just sits here. Many people, even though there's a sign and a fence here, they have no idea. They just go right by, whoop, whoop, all day long. No idea that there is a structure over here that was built about 140 something years ago out of native stone. They have no idea. This is a pioneer cemetery. These are early settlers. Now, the reason why I wanted you to keep that word Bethel in your mind, because we're coming to it now. When you research this, you will find a clerical error that has been made that convinces people of something without them doing their due diligence and coming out here. You're going to find evidence, or you're going to be told that this is an African American cemetery, and there's two reasons for it. There were clerical errors made because it's actually really close to an African American cemetery that's about as old, if not a little older, and it once was associated with the Bethel Church of Christ. Now, there are a lot of black churches with coinciding cemeteries in East Texas here with the name Bethel in their name. When people see that, they just assume that this must be African American. But when you research and you find the families that are in here, like the Powers, and it's the only one I can think of right now, excuse me, but there are other ones, and I think Jones and Power, those are not black families. It's easily researchable. Okay, let's see if I can get in there. It is open to the public because it is on the Texas registry of a historic place, but no one comes here. That might even be what I put in the title. No one comes here. The only people that come here are the people that come here to cut the grass, and they're not county, as far as I can find out through my research. They are volunteers from genealogical historical societies that come to cut the grass. Let me show you how I know no one comes here. That's not how I know, but obviously you can't drive through there. Here's the gate you would use if you want to visit. Now, I did make sure that I'm okay, but look, no one's opened this in a while. The way cemeteries would get their names back in the day, they would name it after the settlement or the community that served it, and then as time went on, they would name them after the road that went by. May even be named after the church associated with the cemetery. Some people would think that they didn't bury a lot of people in here. When they look, there could be people buried all through here. There's maybe some evidence. I see lumps and bumps. I'm already getting sidetracked. I meant to just walk straight to one thing. Oh, this is where a tree was. Big old tree. All right, we're taking a roundabout way to where we're going here. I think it's cool that someone comes and cuts the grass. Not all these pioneer cemeteries get that kind of treatment. I did read that sometimes in summer you can't really walk around here and check it out because of all the overgrowth. Look, they got water here. So maybe people don't cut it all the time. And here we go. People built this with rock from the area. Has it been restored? I would say yes, because look, that's mortar and mortar right there. somebody comes and takes care of this. All right, here we are. That's where they are. We're coming between them. Green, Elijah, and Mary. 1940, 1933. Maybe the last interment, because I can't find anything online on when the last interment was. But we got a number there, 1940. Let's walk over here. Ford. That's another name that's in here, family name. So I guess Green and Ford are family names that are in here. And Powers, and I think Jones. Was watching a vehicle that slowed down, looking at my bike. Perez is another name that's in here I was reading about, now that I see it on here. 1960. Okay, this is an eye-opener. I could not find any evidence of anyone being buried here after a certain time. But we got 1960. Lillian E. Perez. Who's the Ford over here? It seems like we have a lot of later dates in this enclosure here. Jesse Randolph Ford, June 30th, 1911, July 7th, 1937. So seems like everyone right here that has a tombstone died after the turn of the century. Pretty sure I'm walking over a bunch of graves. Got a marker here with no info on it. Oh, this is the tombstone laying flat down. There might be info on it. I'm not going to disturb it. Info is face down. Is this a marker of any significance? Could be. Now they said there was a wooded area, and I was wondering if that back there. I don't think so. I think it's this right here, over to the side here. Looks like we got two markers here. It's just to let us know there are people here. I got a bunch of different markers here. I'm stepping right over graves here. And you see these tombstones. I wonder if it's kids over here. I wonder if we got info here. That's worn off. I can't really see what's going on there. You see something. Looks like a dove right there. I don't see a year. We might be in the area where all the oldest ones are. Yeah. We got one. What does that say? 1890. Died. We got. This is a Power from that family. Born June 18th, 1839. Died. I can't really make it out, but I think that's 1890. Didn't live too long. Might be. Is there two here? I can't really make out what it says on this side. And we got these little ones. Sometimes, in my experience, these little markers, it's either poor people or little people, or poor little people, right? You see how close everything is. And I think that as far as marked graves, I think we got it. Is this one I missed? quite a few around these trees here. Yes, we did miss this one. You never know what you're gonna find. Sometimes you just need to get out the truck and walk around, open a gate, step inside. As long as you're not doing harm, you are obliged. If it's history. There's a lot of history just hidden. A lot of it's getting forgotten because nobody stops. Nobody cares. That's not true. There are plenty of people who care, but there's far more who don't. Anyway, I'm one of the people who do care. Oh, I care enough to not just keep walking towards my bike. I wanted to look at this area up here. Gates open, so open gates, right? What are they for? Well, they're for walking through if they're open, as long as they don't have a nasty sign on it and someone on the other side with a shotgun. Maybe there's a bit more of it back there, but I'm gonna leave it. Ever since I stepped into the cemetery, everybody driving by, just not everybody, but just about everybody, has slowed down and really looked at me. This might be one of those days where this cemetery has gotten more attention than it usually does on the average day, just because these people never seen anybody in here that's not cutting the grass, right? Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of these right here in this area, and when I mention them to people, they're like, what? They had no idea. There's a lot of stories people used to tell, but they don't tell them anymore because those people are gone. But those stories are still there. You just have to find them, and there's a lot of BS to get through. You'll be looking and you'll read somewhere, oh, African American. Well, why doesn't it say on the historical plaque? Not to take away from African American, you know, from black cemeteries, but yeah, we will go to one next, eventually, soon. But yeah, it's amazing how many names this has had, and it's amazing that someone shows up to cut the grass, because they don't do it everywhere. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see y'all next time.